Okay, welcome everyone to the August 2nd edition of Atlanta Microsoft BI and Power BI group meeting. My name is John Layden. Teo Lechef is not able to make it today, so I am filling in for him. Just to give you a background about myself, I've been in BI and with the group since 2010. I'm a full stack developer, and I also work, with companies doing reporting. Most recently, in the beginning, I was doing a lot of ETL.
Hello, Veer.
Hello.
Yes, I could, and unfortunately, for some reason, my phone was stuck on mute. I was trying to turn it off, and then it would just flip right back. No, it was me.
Oh, okay,
sure. I'm using my computer.
Okay.
I finally,
I'm gonna
out of
actually
frustration, made a push against eBay again, and finally ran across a report that, although it doesn't show details of every single transaction,
Looks like they're on another call.
It still shows what I think is exactly what I need for this. Basically, each item, how many.
Sorry about that, everyone.
It just switched back to mute on me. I may call you from a different line here if it keeps doing that.
This is the Power BI meeting.
So, do you have access to a computer? I mean, are you? So I've updated
this is not eBay.
My folder. Can you still get to it? I think I actually.
Okay, I think that's good now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna call, this thing keeps switching to mute, so I'm gonna get off my computer. Google Voice is treating me horribly, and I'm gonna call you back.
Sorry about that. I apologize, everyone, for that. Okay. Back to what I was saying. So I'll start from the beginning. We'll probably have to edit that beginning of the meeting. But welcome everyone to the Atlanta Microsoft Power. Got me open. Take three. Welcome everyone to the Atlanta Microsoft BI and Power BI group meeting for August 2nd. My name is John Layden. Teo Lechef is not going to be able to make it this evening, but everything is fine with Teo. He just went out of town. So I am going to be handling the meeting this evening. And a little bit background for me, I've been in BI and with the group since 2010 as a helping out, in the back end with a lot of the, jobs as being a co-organizer, either helping out with pizza, with sponsors and stuff like that. So to let everybody know that this meeting is going to be recorded. And if you do not wish to be recorded, please feel free to leave the meeting at this time. So we're going to go into some housekeeping. Okay. So welcome everyone again. And those, anybody who's new here tonight, we get a show of hands of how many people are new to the group tonight? Are there any? Not necessarily Power BI, but 5. Okay, we have quite a few. 6, good. Well, okay, well, welcome. So those of you that are able to get to our meetings, we're going through, the reason why you see the group site is because we used to have a secondary site that we used to go through. Now everything is handled through meetup.com. So that's where you go to register and, and say that you're going to attend the meeting. We do ask that if you do say that you're going to attend the meetings, please try to attend the meetings. Otherwise, try to go back into the site and just say that you're no longer going to be able to make it, because when we had the 2 sites, one site was, we used it for to order pizza or food, I should say. Usually it was pizza. Our sponsors, when we meet live, they offer to buy us, food and drinks. So we try to get a count about how many people are going to show up, so we don't, overspend, for our sponsor. So if you would please just be mindful of that. Try to get it. Again, try to see if you're going to be able to make it. Like the day before. So again, that evening we can, or really that day, we can get a count and purchase, make sure we have enough food for everybody. Speaking of which, I might as well go into this now. We're not sure if the meeting next month is going to be online virtually, or is it going to be, at the Microsoft building. It's still we're still trying to find out. COVID is still going on. As far as we know, the Microsoft employees go back to work on Monday, I believe it is. So we're still trying to iron that out. So stay tuned. And again, the best place to find out more information is on meetup.com. After each meeting, spread the word. Tell your all your friends and people about our group. We love to have you. We do record these meetings, and I have the URL right there where you can go and watch the meetings and past meetings. Now, that being said, once we finally do go live, we're not going to be recording the meetings. That might change, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be either in person, live, or online. But since we are online, currently, again, we're recording them, and you can go to that URL to watch some old recordings. We like to get see if other people can get involved as well. We're always looking for speakers. So if you like to present, like we have Avi tonight, he's going to present for us. Talk about Power BI. Please let us know. We are accepting donations because we are, as I said, since we are online, we don't currently have sponsors. So we're like to see if we can get some donations through our GoFundMe page. Also now we talk about jobs. So are there any companies or staffing agencies, recruiters looking for BI talent? Is there anybody here? You can unmute yourself if you like, and you can tell us about who you work for and the positions that are available. Do we have anybody? Going once.
Yeah, this is Justin Thomason. As I mentioned in the chat, I'm the practice lead over at Robert Half here in Atlanta. So I'm actually on the client side, but manage the contract and contract to hire side of the business for us. And then we also have a permanent division as well. But I only work in the software and then data and BI space. So we don't actually have a ton of Power BI or BI roles right now. We just had a big influx that we filled, but definitely have one that's honestly, it's more of like just a true, I guess there's one that's kind of a T-SQL developer, and then one that's a little bit kind of as an SSRS, ETL kind of SQL developer as well. So not truly Power BI specific. I know that they are looking to potentially move that way here shortly as an organization, but those are two roles that we have with one of our clients right now.
Okay.
And both of those would be on the contract to hire side. So if anybody, I guess, wants more information, I'll just throw my, my LinkedIn in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out to me.
That's perfect. Thank you, Justin. Is anybody else?
You got it.
And then we are, we're mostly Power BI now, but we still, our audience, our users are, we deal with the full stack of Microsoft products too. So not just Power BI. So anybody else going once, going twice? Okay, well, thank you. So, okay, so in Microsoft BI news, there's something now called streaming data flows. So let me get my notes on that. And I'll go to the website as well. So you probably heard of streaming data sets. Well, now through, let's see, get up here. So now they have something called streaming data flows. So the streaming data flows provide a low-code, no-code experience for analysts to ingest, mash up, model, and build reports based off of real-time data. So what it is that currently this is one of the requirements for using this tool is that you have premium capacity for your workspace or premium per user license. So you need to have that. And currently what this is for both Azure Event Hub and Azure IoT Hub. Currently, so they might open this to other data sources, as you see here, but currently, like I said, it's just IoT, Azure IoT and Event Hubs, and so basically it works very similar to regular data flows, which I guess people sum up usually as like ETL in the cloud. And so how you go about, I don't have currently to demonstrate, this because I don't have the premium capacity on my machine. This is my local machine, personal machine. So you basically go to the Power BI service and you'll see they have, the premium capacity, or excuse me, that's premium per user, I believe, with the little person icon on there. And then we usually see data flows. Now there's a streaming data flows. You clicked on that. You give it a name, and then the interface, and I apologize, I tried to get a bigger picture of this, but you can get the idea behind it is that you have this kind of interface where you have the ribbon, and you can see there's your Event Hub and IoT Hub, and there's other different ways of using your inputs and transformations. And stuff. This is the diagram view. You have your slide panel, and then the data preview as you're going through, as you're creating, and then also previewing here, your data going from your IoT devices. Again, as I mentioned, currently the two types of data sources are the Azure Event Hub and then the Azure IoT. The different type of data types, date, time, float, integer, record, and string. Then you have other types of transformations and like filters here. You can manage fields, you can add, other sources and rename. You can do aggregations, joins. So there's a lot you can do, group by and everything to kind of bring your data in from those sources and create your data set from those. So a little, I'd like to know if anybody's actually using any kind of IoT, for, not necessarily even for Power BI, but using it for, say, Azure. Is anybody in the group using that type of, those type of devices? Raise your hand if so. I don't see anybody using that. Well, one of the things I think, with these type of IoT devices, which is useful. So I used to, work for Georgia Pacific, and we weren't using Power BI at the time for this purpose, but we had mills and then machinery in the mills, and so having it streaming, because the streaming is near. Is real time or near real time data, and some of the things that a colleague of mine was doing was taking the data from our equipment, those machines, and kind of getting things like hydraulic pressures and temperatures and stuff like that, where too high of a pressure could lead to a catastrophic failure and or somebody getting hurt. So those were very, his process was very useful. And this is kind of a way I see that you can start using Power BI to monitor, devices like that, with Azure IoT and those event hubs, if you have your data streaming through those sources. So, the other thing in the news right now is interactive Excel reports. So now Excel pivots can be interacted and connected with Power BI data sets. So just a little short notice of the meeting. I didn't have a whole lot of time to come up with a really good example, but basically what it is, and I'll bring this over here. So this is not my best work. This is just an adventure works. I don't even have any slices on here, but I have the filter pane. So you'll see that I got this report, Adventure Works, our favorite. And so, you know, kind of I'm showing internet sales data here. So I created this to try to show some kind of, you know, that it works and it goes through the process. So I created this, you know, test column, you know, in my Power BI data source there. So what the idea about this, maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, is that you can go to your Power BI service, and people have heard of Analyze in Excel. So what you can do is you can go to either your report. So I have this, you know, this is my same report here, and then you can click on that, you know, either in the report or the data set, and you can say Analyze in Excel. So once you do that, it downloads your data into Excel. And then what you can do from there, you can take the data and then you save it, right? If you save it into, put my notes here, you save it into OneDrive, OneDrive for Business or SharePoint Online, then it's connected to Power BI. So what you can do, so with my demonstration here, so I downloaded the report, you know, Analyze in Excel. Let me pull this up here. And you'll see here's my my pivot table. Again, you know, my Power BI report wasn't very impressive, so neither is my pivot table here. But again, it'll work. So you'll see that, you know, here's my pivot table, and then you'll see my my test. Let's see here. You see my test column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's see here. It's under dim customer. There's my test column. So what I'm going to do is delete it out of my report, and then I'm going to go ahead. You publish it. I'm trying to simulate a your data changing in the background, you know, when you know, at your data source. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and publish this to powerbi.com. So I'm doing here, I should probably bring this over. So I went ahead, I deleted that column, you know, for my data set, and I'm going to go ahead and publish it to powerbi.com. Go ahead and do a replace. So then this will reflect on my Power BI, my Power BI desktop will reflect on my powerbi.com. Okay, got it. So let's look at powerbi.com in the cloud. Let's see here. I'll bring that report. So, oops, excuse me. So now what I want to do, oops, sorry, is so now, so it refreshed the powerbi.com in the cloud. So let's say you have a nightly poll, your data changes. So what's interesting in this, and there may be another way of doing this, is the way they explain how to refresh your data is you have to share. So there's two ways of doing that. Well, there's two ways of connecting to, let me back up a little bit, to your Excel in the cloud. You can go ahead and do it like I just did, say Analyze Excel by going to the service, or you can go ahead and you can connect directly to your Power BI data set, you know, using Excel. So the way they explain to do this, as far as to refresh it, is you hit share, and then you copy the link, which I think is an interesting way of doing it, and then you paste it here in the browser, and then it refreshes the data. And then if everything works correctly, you don't see the test, you know, my test column is deleted. It's everything flowed through. So again, it's not the best example, Sorry, I apologize. I probably thinking about it now. If I had more time, I probably would have created, in AdventureWorks. I could have actually changed the data, uploaded that. Would have been a little bit better for the presentation. But the whole idea is that you'll see now what they're saying is that if you have a user that likes your Power BI reports, but they also want to see it in Excel. Now, if they connect to that Power BI data set, that anytime there's a refresh and everything like that, all that now gets transferred to their, Excel report that's online. So that's for that. Okay, so again, we spoke this meeting. It's how to create a successful Power BI career without the struggle. By Avi Singh. Avi, so I guess this is where you take over, and we'll go ahead, and if you'd like to present. Let me go ahead and get things done up.
Yep. Let me
stop sharing my
do
screen.
that. So screen that one. All right. You should be seeing my PowerPoint.
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, hold on. How do I get the chat to show at the same time? Oh, there it is. I can see the chat. Okay. All right, folks. So I hope that's what you're here for, how to create a successful Power BI career. And the key word is without the struggle. So I'm hoping this is pretty interactive. And this is a small, cozy group, which is awesome, which makes it easier to have conversations. So let's start off with, I just want to ask you guys, what are your career goals? And yeah, whatever comes to your mind, whatever it is you're aiming for next, whatever comes up. It could be a long-term goal, could be a short-term goal, could be on any path, employee or consultant. I certainly work with both groups. So yeah, just type it in and let me know what are your career goals. So let's hear from some of you. I'm going to wait for you.
And if you like, you could actually unmute your mic if you'd rather talk as well.
Yeah, you can do that too. All right, guys, don't be shy. It's a safe group. We're not going to judge you. We're not going to tell you, oh, you can't have that. That's impossible. No, we're going to be nice. All right, so Eric Flam is saying his goal is to get project-based work with modern platforms. Definitely not full-time. Very interesting. I'm imagining him saying it and putting emphasis on the last part. It's like, nope, definitely not that. Yeah, let's hear from a few more. So go ahead, folks, type it in. That's usually the easiest, but yeah, you can unmute yourself as well. All right, now I know you guys want something out of your career. I think it's very rare. I always talk about the human condition, and it's like, man, we put a man on moon, and we are gonna put, a human being on moon, and we're gonna put somebody on Mars.
Okay, we have some people
us,
that
right?
talk. We have some people here in the chat.
Yeah, so I know that we all want something. So cool. So we got something coming in. So Jackie is saying, I want to be, her goal is to be a short-term remote consultant. Interesting. Alex is saying, currently full-time, looking to go consultant eventually. Great. Alfonso is saying, I would like to build custom dashboards for clients remotely. Kathy's saying, I'm a newbie. Hey, Kathy, newbies are, yeah, or not, they're allowed to have goals too. And you can put anything out there. Yep, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. If everything would work out the way you wanted, what do you see for yourself? So do type in, I'm going to check back. And Joseph is saying, would like to be knowledgeable enough to lead adoption within an organization. That's awesome. Aruna is saying, understand Power BI thoroughly so my team builds custom dashboards for our end users. Great, guys. Thank you so much for sharing, and hold on to those, right? I mean, those are valuable. I think that's what pushes humanity forward and pushes us forward individually as well. It's good to have those goals. It's good to explore that. Ushay is saying, I'm a Power BI newbie. I'm still exploring career options within business analytics. So sometimes you might not have like a clear picture of like, I want to be, like how others are saying, oh, I want to build Power BI and dashboards. You might not have that clarity. What I would still encourage you to is to have clarity around other things. For example, you can say, I forget the name of the person, but they said, oh, I do not want to have a full-time job, right? So you can say, I want to work remote. I want to work, not a full-time job, and et cetera, et cetera. So you can still have goals around that. Great. Hey, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, as I said, hold on to those. Now, my next question to you is, do you think struggle is required to make it to those goals? Now, at this point, I want you to just pause for a bit and realize that, often when we ask the question, we try to think of the right answer, and you say, oh yeah, what would be the right answer? What would please the group or please Avi or whatever. And this is not about that. This is not about the right answer. This is about your answer. So if you can, just be really truthful to yourself. And yeah, I want to hear from at least some folks. And just honestly tell me, what do you think struggle is required to succeed? Just type in a yes or no, or a longer response if you so feel like it. So Bruce is saying yes, or not saying yes. Kathy is saying yes, required, but struggling in a smart way. Eddie's saying yes. Alfonso is saying no. All right, hard work, yes. Struggle, no. Ooh, interesting response. Yeah, I would like to know everything. And there's a lot of everything that isn't clear to me yet. I know. God, there's so much to learn. Trust me. Justin saying yes. Ernest saying it takes time and effort to learn new technology. I think effort is required. Struggle, maybe not. Great responses, guys. And again, it's not about the answer or the right answer. Who knows what is the right answer? But I do love this quote, which is quality of our life is determined by the quality of questions we ask. And I think, there are these unanswered questions in this universe, like, who am I? How did the universe start? Is there a God? What happens after death? All of these big ones, right? But there are also unquestioned answers. Sometimes we take things for granted. We say, oh yeah, this is what it is. And I think sometimes it just helps to open that door a crack and question it. So again, as long as I get you to do that, that's my goal, right? So again, not to convince you of anything, think my way or whatever next I'm going to say throughout this presentation. But if you just start questioning this, just ponder on this question, that would be my goal. So cool. So let's I'm going to give you a fitness example, and trust me, it does relate with Power BI. So when you think about fitness and health, do you know someone who has to work really hard to stay fit? And again, that person may be you. And there might be somebody whom you know who's like, dang, I mean, yeah, they don't seem to put much effort at all. Certainly nothing compared to another person or you, as I said. But yeah, they seem to stay fit. And again, this might be you. This might be like, you're like, yeah, I generally, people always tell me like, yep, you stay fit and so forth. So think about this. I think we do know people in both categories. And sometimes it can be really annoying, if you're in the first category and then somebody who's in the second, and God forbid if you have a spouse like that, so but think about this on the Power BI career perspective, or in general career perspective, is do you know somebody who struggles quite a bit but didn't get the same level of success? And again, this could be you. This could be you. It's like, yep, yeah, I struggled, but I just didn't get the success. I mean, and again, there may be counterexamples where you see people who's like, man, it comes easily to them. I mean, and of course, sometimes, peer comparison is sometimes the, kind of, it's the hardest, right? I mean, you go back to a class reunion and then you see a friend who's done better than you and you feel so jealous, really, right? So, or, you started jobs in the same company at the same time, the same level, and somebody else took off. So I know I had seen examples of this. And again, all I want to do is open that door for you. Is that, yeah, is there another way? And so again, it's possible that it's just luck and one of those things. Well, if it is that, then none of us can control it, frankly. But maybe if part of you thinks that, what if that's a learned thing? What if that's something that I can learn? What if they know they figured out something by accident or by purpose that they did? And if I can learn the same thing, if I can do things the same way, well, then I wouldn't have to, work 80-hour weeks and sacrifice my family life, my health, and all of that to get that success, right? What if there is another way? So that is what I'm going to share with you today, for really from my experience. So if I was talking about my mission, be the thread to connect and empower others. And another way to express the same thing is I talk about this, where I say my goal is for you to not just learn Power BI, but become a pro. Now, what does that mean? For me, what that means is that I want you to have a successful Power BI career, but also a life of freedom, a life of control. That's big for me. That's important for me, right? So that's my goal. And I've been running my YouTube channel for a long time and so forth. I've helped thousands of students all over the world through my Learn Power BI program. And then we also run these small group programs. So Power BI consultant program, that's just a group of 21 people. They also happen to be all over the world, and yeah, right. So I'm helping them there with their career, and we are about to launch what we're calling the Power BI Pioneer program, which is, again, consultant is like, hey, if you want to be independent consultant. Power BI program is if you want to succeed in your company, you don't want to leave a job. You're like, hey, how can I become a leader in this field and so forth. So I've done all through that. And again, I'm just going to share what I believe is the way to get this. I believe that this is a learned thing, because that's what once I started asking this question, is like, is it required to succeed? Is struggle required to succeed? And then I started looking around, and well, I got formal training as well. So I learned from coaches and seeing others. And of course, by helping my students, that's been the biggest thing. So that's what I want to share with you today. Let me know if this is going to be valuable for you. So just type in a yes or no, or a long response if you like. Oh, Bruce had something interesting to say. Age is a factor. Man, I really want to talk to you. Okay, so Jackie's saying it's going to be helpful to her. I just want to make sure I hear from a few other folks before we go on. All right, great. Oh, Bruce is saying this is really vague. Good feedback, Bruce. Yeah, I get that. Ouch. I mean, well, yeah. Okay. Hopefully, what I have to share wouldn't be vague, but I think that is specific. So, Anna Joseph is saying sure or not sure. Great. Well, part of it is vague, I guess. So, let me make it a bit more specific. And I think the best way for me to do that is to share the path that I went through, the struggle. And yeah, I mean, even though now I'm a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft partner, best-selling author, this, that, I worked with a lot of companies, helped them as a consultant, run a training program, helped thousands of users there. But it didn't start that way. In fact, my career was this weird roller coaster. I did well in school and college. I did really well there, but really in my professional career, I always struggled. I just bounced around from one thing to the next, one company to the next, and it just felt like such a struggle, my friends. And I know for me, kind of the moment of reckoning was when I turned 40, and I looked up the life expectancy in US for males, and it's at that time it was 80 years old. So I'm like, shit, 50% of my life is over. And I couldn't complain. I mean, I came from a very humble background in India, and I had a good life, but I really wondered if that was it, if that was as good as it got. And so I was in a good job, earning a good salary, but I'd been through quite a bit. I had been laid off, and really at any job, at any point, I never felt kind of secure. I was always watching out for the next layoff or something else. And I always um, worried that if I did get laid off, how the heck would I get a job which would pay me the same amount of money? So yeah, really, it was not a career that I was proud of. And again, so I think Bruce talked about how age is a factor, and I certainly felt that way because I was 40 plus, and I couldn't quite play the game the same way. And what I was seeing was that I was competing with all of these young folks And of course, all of these folks, in India and China and that sort of stuff. Now, they were smarter, both of these groups. They could devote more time on their skills. They did. And well, they were learning the new stuff, right? I mean, they would come out of college and they would know the latest technologies. I didn't. I always had to struggle to update my knowledge, but then it was felt like shifting sands, right? I mean, you try to climb on top of sand dunes, so it was such a struggle. So I was competing against that, but that wasn't it. I mean, these folks, again, the younger folks and the folks in other countries, they were willing to work harder, longer hours. They didn't care to put 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week, right? For me, man, I didn't really want that for myself. I got two kids, and frankly, the way I had worked earlier, I had really missed out on my kids' childhood in a big way. I'd already missed out on that, and yeah, I just didn't want that anymore. I wanted to be a different dad, different husband, different person, different me. So how do I compete with that? And of course, the last one was a zinger, which was they were willing to do all this for less money, right? The young folks that were coming up, they were smarter, they knew more than me, they had the latest stack, they're willing to work harder and for less money. And no wonder I was worried, not just about losing my job, but man, if I lose my job, it's like, why would anybody pay me this much amount, right? I mean, you stay in a company and you kind of get that increment and the increment and every year, but then I'd already been laid off and I was like, man, if it happens again, I don't know where I'm going to go. So it was definitely the struggle. It felt like that. I was in a happy place. But of course, now I know things that I didn't know then. For one, I call this what I call the unwinnable game. Unwinnable game. I mean, I don't think there's any way to win this thing. I played that game for a long time, and again, the way I tried to win this was that, oh, I'm gonna get smarter than them. I'm gonna learn the latest tech. So yeah, I spend hours learning new stuff. So, oh, they can work harder. I can work harder. So I started putting in longer hours. But then how do you do with the last one? What are you going to do? Are you start working with less money? Is that the way to win this game? No, it ain't, right? I mean, yeah, that's not winning, not in my book. So of course, what I know now is that if you can't win the game, you must change the game. And this is what I help all of my students and followers, especially members who are in our higher end programs, Power BI Consultant program, Power BI Pioneer program. I help them do this. And we do this by something really simple, and which is actually the step one in the journey, right? So this is the new game. So this was me, right? I was part of that 99%. And yeah, I was a business user. I had worked in different things. And it doesn't matter kind of where you are right now, but yeah, you're filling a business role, a business function, and that's everybody. Now, so of course, something magical has happened, which is Power BI. Power BI is a magical technology. It's revolutionary. It's not evolutionary. But even then, there's only a small percentage of people who know Power BI. And when I say they know Power BI, I don't mean they can slap together a few graphs in Power BI. I mean, a monkey could do that, right? I mean, now this is really knowing Power BI, which often means knowing the stuff under the hood. They understand what a data model is. They understand relationships, right? They understand, the dimension, fact tables, star schema, or I simplify it, I just call them data and lookup tables, but they understand that structure. It starts there. And then they understand DAX, a little bit of concepts there, and so forth, right? So they understand that core. And then, of course, visualization is not about the flash and bang, but they understand the visualization principles. By the way, these are the kind of things that I focus on in my course, right? So I think the people who really know Power BI, it's still a very, very small percentage. Really, most people that I run into is like, yeah, they can put things together, but they don't really understand any of the underlying concepts, not even visualization, right? So that number is really small, but there is a way you can rise higher than that. And again, instead of being part of the 99%, being part of that struggle, being part of the unwinnable game, you can change the game, which is all you have to do is combine your tech skills with a business focus. And again, it sounds too easy to be true, but it is. Now, there is a way to do it. There's a way to do it right. And most people either don't get it right or frankly don't even get started. That's the worst thing, right? So either they totally miss it or they mess it up, right? And of course, that is niche. That is your niching down. And I feel this is the single most important thing you can do to elevate your career and change that game. And we'll talk more about that. Now, I will say that what I'm showing you right here, it is the close to the right answer. It's not 100% the right answer, right? So yeah, that's coming soon. And I think the best way I can show this is, so you heard my sob story, how I struggled. So of course, now the mission for me is that I don't want others to go through that same struggle, right? I want them to have the best lives possible. Again, that don't just learn Power BI, become a pro, create a successful career, but also a life of freedom, of control. I want that for others because, guys, I didn't have it, and it kind of sucked. Yeah, I never enjoyed that part, right? So I want you to meet Greg. So Greg is part of the small group program that I talked about, the Power BI consultant programs. And again, just the way I shared my journey, this is not where Greg started. He has his own story, which maybe yeah, he'll share someday. But this is where he is right now. So this is his LinkedIn profile, and you can see here he says, "Oh, I help leaders in the coffee and manufacturing industry increase revenue through business analytics, Power BI data modeling, visualization." Right. So, well, if you haven't guessed it, his focus is on coffee industry, and this is his website, Big Wave BI. Love that name. Love that logo. Oh, how cool, right? And again, so this time, and he says here, I empower strategic leaders in the coffee and manufacturing industry by building game-changing business analytics. Right. So again, it doesn't happen overnight, right? And it doesn't start here. It's not a snap of a finger, but again, you decide where you want to take your life and your career. It's so I don't know if there are any Simon Sinek fans here, but Simon Sinek, I'm a huge fan. He talks about the finite game and the infinite game. Greg here, we're not talking about a finite game, guys. We're not talking about helping you find the next job. I mean, this may help you there, may not help you. I don't know. We're talking about the infinite game, which is the long-term game, which is your career, right? So Greg didn't start here, didn't have it in day one, but his results speak for himself. And he's becoming the go-to guy in the specialty coffee industry. He's starting to run webinars in that. So he's not only helping his clients, he's now working with clients to change that industry. It frankly, I mean, it's mind-boggling. I mean, I'm always stunned when I hear about stuff he's up to, right? And of course, as I said, the results speak for themselves. So one of his clients has been featured by Microsoft, and that's on his LinkedIn article. This is his client, and you can see them being featured on the Microsoft story. So again, don't just take my word, but yeah, look at Greg and see if you can see that as an example of what could be possible for you. So again, it's simple. Now I know there might be some questions, and I'll be really happy. Frankly, for me, I'm looking forward to the Q&A. But that's the best part. I love that most. But I do want to give you the full answer, and I said that this is close, but not quite. And if you haven't guessed it already, it's reverse. So it's not Power BI plus business focus. It's business focus plus Power BI. Greg doesn't go out and say, "Oh, I do cool Power BI stuff for the coffee and manufacturing industry." No. What does he say? He says, "I help strategic leaders in the coffee industry." Business focus comes first. Now, if you think about it, one thing that it does, it technology proofs you, right? So again, a big challenge for anybody in technology is shit. It changes every time. I remember I was in a conference where we were doing Power BI versus Tableau, and the Tableau guy was really nice, and he said something so memorable. And he had been in the industry far longer than I have, and he said, "I've been here around for 20 plus years. Now, 20 years ago, we were using tools which aren't around here today. And I guarantee you, 20 years from now, things are not going to be the same." Now, of course, the pace of change in technology has only sped up. So, and already, man, even in my tenure, I mean, Power BI isn't Power BI anymore. It's like, it's like Azure and machine learning and AI and ML and this and that and Power Apps and Power Flow. It's so overwhelming. There's so much. But this simple thing, Technology proves you. In some ways, you don't, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, if the next day Power BI is not the hottest thing and I don't know, some other new tech thing is, oh, well, it's a minor change for Greg. I help coffee strategically in coffee industry, with whatever the new fancy name of the tool, right? So that's one. But then let's come back to this, the unwinnable game. All right, let's see how it plays out for Greg. So how is he going to compete with folks who are like, ooh, these DAX ninjas, right? And that's what we feel like doing, right? Oh, I got to learn all the tech. I got to learn everything. I got to learn more. I want to tell you right now that that is bullshit. That is not the path to success. The same way working hard doesn't lead to success, cannot guarantee success, learning more doesn't. Frankly, I don't even see a big correlation between those two. So I'll leave that for a separate thing. But for one, because imagine a person who's a DAX ninja, and they could be anywhere. They could be in the US, India, China, who cares, right? And if imagine them in a meeting room where Greg is sitting down with his targeted client, his niche client, right? We're sitting down with somebody who's a strategic leader in the coffee industry, sitting down with them. There's Greg in the room and there's this DAX ninja. You know what? That person wouldn't last a minute. I mean, it would be hard for them to not open their mouth and make themselves look like a fool. I have seen Greg talk about the coffee industry. I've seen him how his presentation and so forth. Man, he knows it so inside out. He knows his clients better than they know themselves. He can tell them the problems, not just that they're having right now, and they'll say, "Whoa, how did you know?" But he can tell them the next set of problems that's going to lead them to. That is the power of niching down. He has no competition with anybody who has smarter skills than him. They can't compete with him at all. I mean, they can't even be in the same room. And work harder, same thing. They can work hard all they want, 60, 80 hours. It's not going to matter, right? The Greg knows his client and knows their pain points, knows how to talk to them. No competition. And I love this last part. So this was the hardest and the most frustrating thing for me. I said, how the heck? Right? I mean, and I remember, man, I remember the time when I crossed the 100K mark and I was happy, but I also felt cursed because it becomes this big thing around your neck. It's like, shit, who's going to pay me this amount of money, 6 figures plus salary if I change jobs? Who's going to pay me? Who's going to pay me that much? Right? So there's just always this tension. I was like, oh, yeah, they hire somebody junior and man, they're doing my work and I know they get paid half as much. How long are they going to keep me around? And of course, outsourcing and all that stuff. So this was a big challenge for me. Guess what? That is an opportunity for Greg. Because again, these guys can't compete with him. They can't sit down with the client and get that business. It's just not going to work. They don't have that skill set. They don't have that targeting. They don't have the business focus. So what he does instead is he's happy that there are people out there who are smarter than him, who are willing to work hard and for less money. He's very happy because guess what he's doing? He's hiring them to work. So all of this stuff, the Unwinnable Game, it's working now in his favor. Whew. So guys, it's sometimes tempting. We want to learn it all. We want to do it all, right? But hey, and if you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing, no one. So that's what I have learned. And that's what I try to teach my students is, don't be a Power BI professional. Be a business professional in a targeted industry. That's your niche. And just, you just happen to do it. The way you help your clients just happens to be with Power BI. All right, cool. So, hey, I'm looking forward to your questions here. These are some of the common ones that I hear. So I hear, oh, I mean, what if I'm getting niche down? Am I not like turning people away? I'm locking myself in. I'm missing out on opportunities. That doesn't sound like a good strategy. So if you have that, I would love to talk about that. Sometimes people say, okay, cool, but how do I choose my niche? And sometimes they've worked in different things and so forth. So how do I choose that? And then, of course, there's some fear. Is that, well, fine, I'll choose a niche if you say so. But what if it doesn't work out? Or what then? Or really, if you have any other Power BI career-related questions, I'll be happy to answer that. But before we go into Q&A, I just want to make sure that I do want to point you out to some resources. So you can go to learnpowerbi.com and find out about our training programs. I mentioned some of them. So Learn Power BI is kind of the starting gate, but then we work with two pro-level programs. One is to groom people, train and coach them to become consultants. and another one, which is coming soon actually, which is to groom them to be business leaders or Power BI pioneers within their company, right? So one is an employee path, one is a consultant path. So check those out. Definitely my YouTube channels, and there are two of them. One is the Power BI Pro, that's my main channel. The second one, Power On Now, that's more career focused. Although I am most active these days on LinkedIn. I post videos on Power BI career related questions. I answer questions there. And yeah, so follow me on LinkedIn. And did I have anything else? Oh, that's it. Yeah, cool. So folks, yeah, I would love to answer your specific questions. And I think for this part, I would love to talk to somebody. I'm just going to read some of the comments. So, so layoffs have been my nightmare for the last 2 years. Yeah, long in the tooth. Yeah, so guys, I do. If somebody's, I think Bruce mentioned age earlier, and I would love to talk more about that. How ages factor, how you can change that. So, some of what I said, frankly, helps anybody at any age. you know, yeah, but it's a real thing. So thanks for sharing that. 10 years. Yeah.
Do
All
you
right,
see that Jackie has a comment? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Jackie had a good comment there. I'm glad that helped, Jackie. Yeah, no worries. I think somebody said that helped. That was a great icebreaker. Yeah. All right, folks, don't be shy. Well, tell me
So I guess
maybe.
one of the things we could talk about, Avi, is talking about full time, in a role like Power BI compared to being a consultant, and
Yeah.
the flexibility, with one versus the other, and there's these
Yeah.
pros and cons, because I myself
Yeah.
have done both, and so when people ask me, well, which one do you like better?
Yeah.
It's really hard because it is different, isn't it?
I would say so. I have maybe a slightly different take on that.
Okay.
So again, I talked about the life of freedom and life of control, right? And I talk about how my life in the corporate America felt like I was in the backseat of a car, right? I was always in the backseat being driven around, and because I was never in control, I never had the steering wheels. So that meant if I got a new boss, oh, we're going this way, right? If there was a reorg, or we're going that way. Sometimes there would be a layoff and they would dump me out of the car. Sometimes I would change jobs, but then again, even when I changed jobs, I got out from one backseat and stepped into another backseat. I didn't, and of course in the new it'll be exciting as a new car, new smell, whatever. But then you realize, shit, I'm again in the backseat. I'm not in control. So that was my life, and I didn't like that. And yeah, that was not fun, and that's not what I want from my followers and students. So we talk about life of freedom, life of control, but then I say, um, yeah, I mean, do you know? I sometimes tease people. I so say, cool, why do you want to become a consultant? And they say, oh, I want flexibility of hours. I want to be able to do the work that I enjoy doing. I want to help others. Blah blah. They say a few things. And I say, do you know a consultant who has none of that, right? Who's not happy with his work, hates his clients, doesn't enjoy it, right? I mean, all this sort of stuff. And they may not, but I know I know quite a few people. So I really think that it has nothing to do with employer consultant. It has nothing to do with it. It's about being in control of your life. Now, of course, I'll say that I don't have the answer to that, but I have some clues. And one of the biggest clues that I'm convinced is one is, of course, so by the way, this step one is niching down. I think that one is important. So this is where we start. So again, you could be an employee. So we built this path for the Power BI consultant program, but I really believe that it applies to anybody. So step one is that, yeah, you gotta focus on something. And in this day and age, it's better to focus on a small area and rule that. It's kind of like the world works as in Google searches, right? The number one ranking gets most of the click-throughs. Number two, number three, and then there's a steep drop off. And God forbid, if you're on the second page, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's you're getting the crumbs, right? So the same thing. I mean, if you focus down on a niche where you become the number one guy. So again, I mean, look at Greg. I mean, he's becoming, or maybe has already become, the number one go-to guy. If anybody in the specialty coffee industry needs help with data analytics and so forth, he's almost the guy, right? So if you focus on something and nail it, I think that's step one. That's step one, right? So again, you got to focus on something. But then step two, I believe, is what I say is that in this day and age, you can't just do good work and hope to succeed. Maybe that was my dad's time, but certainly not now. I believe the key today is you do good work and tell great stories. You gotta tell stories about your work. You gotta be able to express and of course you can do it on social media, you can do it in one-on-one meetings, whatever, right? I mean, and yeah, that's up to you, or do a mix of everything. But you got, and of course that's why these user groups and stuff are awesome. And this could be a great start. So again, John at the beginning, he was asking for speakers, folks. If you have you have done good work, please. I don't know. I mean, for your own sake, right? I mean, start getting the habit and start getting the practice of just telling the story about your good work. So I feel that those two things can unlock that, put you in the driver's seat. And that can happen as an employee or as a consultant. And then you get to create a life by design. Then you can control the kind of life that I want. You can have the freedom and all that. And again, I've seen examples of people doing that in the consulting path. I work mostly with them, but I've also seen examples on the employee path. All right. Great. I think Aruna has a comment. Having business knowledge got me to data insight when I implemented Power BI. Cool. Aruna, remind me, maybe you mentioned it earlier, what is your specific business domain? All right. Great. All right, folks. So, hey, and again, I would love to talk to somebody if somebody has, if you just want to, if you don't even feel like you have a question, yeah.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah, go ahead. This is, sorry, how do I say your name?
Uche.
Uche. All right, Uche, Go ahead.
All right. So, I mean, the idea of choosing a niche, right?
Yeah.
I started my career doing like small break fix stuff. Went in to try and do, got an MCSE, but then kind of switched gears right after I finished school, jumped in as a technical sales, eventually became all sales.
Yeah.
The idea of, for a lot of people that I know, the idea of choosing Power BI or SQL or certain other technologies was so that they could move from one niche to another. Now, what you're saying makes sense, but now it becomes a scary notion of all the stuff that you've actually done, and you may have some good work in all of those fields. How do you choose one? But,
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll admit, it is definitely scary. I mean, I went through the same thing, by the way. I mean, I went through the same thing, kind of setting my own business, right? I mean, my coaches kept telling me kind of niche down. And I resisted that because it is scary. And of course, we go through the same thing when I'm coaching my members in my consultant program and so forth. Yeah, so it's scary. And it's definitely counterintuitive. It feels opposite. And the closest analogy that I can think of, I don't know if it's going to help, is I used to go skiing with my son. Now I go skiing with my daughter. And I mean, I can kind of do the black runs, but every time I'm at the top of the black run and I'm starting my run, my instinct is I'm so afraid that I want to pull back, right? I want to lean back. I'm so afraid of falling. So the instinct is that, but of course I've been skiing long enough to know that what you need to do is exactly the opposite. You need to lean in, because when you're on a steep slope, that keeps you centered on your skis, right? So yeah, it's counterintuitive, but that's what you need. And I think niching down is the same thing. The instinct is to not niche down and just be the generalist and like, no, yeah, I can do Power BI for anybody. Oh, your coffee or manufacturing, real estate, this, that. I do everything. Yep. And you know, the and to make it even worse, the thing is that is true. So if you look at data problems and data challenges, they are universal. There is no industry that I've gone into which had something really unique. Like the setting may be unique, but you know, you can count it off on the fingers. So every company out there, any single company out there struggles with putting data from multiple places, right? Simple. Everybody has that, right? And then when they have that, they struggle with kind of the calculations and all this stuff, right? So you know, and this and a series of other things, right? How do you share and so forth? So these challenges are generally universal. So the reality is that yes, you can help anybody with that skill, but again, the question is, should you? So acknowledging all that, I really think that again, it's the difference between the finite game versus the infinite game, right? So you can, it's possible that not niching down may help you in the short term, although I would also argue against that. I think you would get better results even if somebody is out of a job right now and looking for a job. And I can talk in more detail about how can you use that niche to find your next job, right? But so it's that's arguable, but certainly in the long run, you're going to be much better off being on a specific thing. So again, right, imagine yourself in an interview and you walk in and you are a Power BI generalist. Like, yeah, I've helped this, then this, and this, and that. And the other person is a specialist. Who's going to get the job, right? I mean, most likely they're going to get the job even if their Power BI skills are, you know, half of yours, right? So it's just, yeah, it doesn't work that way. So from what I heard from you, Ujay, you do have had, it seems, a significant focus around sales.
Well, yeah, technology sales in particular.
Oh, great. Wow, that's better. I mean, the more specific, the better. Yeah, I will encourage you to walk on this path a little bit, and you can just try it out. So can I ask you, what's your situation right now? Are you happy in your job? Are you looking for a new job? Are you looking to switch from job to consulting or something else?
So I actually switched from sales.
Mm-hmm.
I got a PMP.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started dabbling with Power BI. That's how I.
Oh yeah, I remember your comment. Yeah, you used to be in sales. Ooh, oh boy. So yeah.
So
Cool.
I currently work for a manufacturing company in their PM office, but I'm still looking to add some BA skills to my tool set.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah. So I wouldn't worry so much about the tech skills. Let's talk about the business focus. So if I may ask, where do you feel your heart is? Is your heart in sales, or if your heart is in project management?
I would say it's more in project management and BA, because I you know, even when I was in sales, I like running numbers and creating data, or rather turning data into information. So
well, so that is the common thread, right? I mean, data analytics, pretty much anybody here does do data analytics. We do Power BI, we do that. But for whom? That the business focus, as I said, that's a more important one. So PM. So let me ask you this way: if either of these paths would lead to glorious success, right? However much money you want to earn in your career and so forth, right? Or whatever you need, right? If both of these paths led to glorious success, you had the Midas touch, anything you touch turned to gold. And again, one path is you help kind of technical salespeople with Power BI. Another path is you help, folks in project management with your analytics skills in Power BI and so forth, right? Which would you choose?
I would go with the latter option.
Project management, right?
Yeah.
Great. So good. So I think that is good. I mean, trust me, you're miles ahead of a lot of people that I work with who stay stuck on that. They wouldn't put their foot down. Like, so that is good. I'll say then maybe you would be ready for the next step that I talk about, which is do good work, tell great stories. So there are lots of different ways to get started on that path. And again, you guys, so you can do it totally your own way. You don't feel like I'm talking about telling a story. It doesn't have to be public speaking. You never have to speak on a stage or in a virtual stage if you don't want to. And you don't have to, do any social media stuff if you don't want to. You have to do something, but you can figure out your own way, right? So that's not specific, but as an example, I'll use some of those. So I will say that personally for me, I love the LinkedIn platform, right? I think it's really, really good because it doesn't have the chicken and egg problem. And I can talk more about that if somebody's really interested in LinkedIn and so forth, and we can go deeper into that. But one way that we encourage students is that they just get a little bit active on LinkedIn. And you can do it in really baby steps. Step one is simply sharing news. So anything interesting that you see around project management plus analytics, you just share that. That's it. That's level one. And that's easy because again, I mean, you just, you're not creating anything, any content, just, oh, this is interesting, right? So that is step one. And that should be easy for everybody. Right. And that is, I still want you to know that that is still valuable because in this day and age, what people are struggling with is an overload of information. So if you can give them curated information, that's valuable to them. It's just, oh, I can go to Uche. If I don't want to hear everything, all this noise, like everybody telling me this stuff and this change and blah blah, all that stuff. No, I'm in project management, right? And that's why I'm going to go to Uche because he gives me what do project managers need, business analytics. So that's step one. That should be easy. Step two is you do the same thing, but you add a little bit of your own commentary. So earlier, maybe you're just sharing it. Hey guys, you might find this interesting. But now you say, oh, I came across this, and in minute 23 in this video, 5 minutes, 23 minutes into this video, something, he shows this technique which I found really helpful, or blah blah blah, or even critique it, or you say, hey, you know what, I came across this, but I don't quite agree with it. Whatever, doesn't matter. You just, again, be honest, be genuine. And by the way, a big hurdle that people have is that they need to be an expert to be post like that on social media, which is not true, right? So yeah, yeah, that's definitely not true. You're going to be helping people who are around, close to you in your journey, right? So yeah, so experts, the funny thing about being an expert is that they actually can help only a small set of people who are within the skill range. So imagine somebody who's just starting out Power BI and they end up on SQLBI.com. Tell me if they are not going to have their daylight scared out of them. It still scares me. It still scares me. I get on this site and I feel like I'm worthless. I feel like I know nothing and I'm never going to know anything, right? So again, right? So being an expert is overrated. So don't believe in that. So step one, you share content around your area, business focus and niche. So project management plus Power BI. Step two, you share it with some commentary. And step three can be that you do create some of your own content. And that is simple as well, because all you're doing is sharing a journey. Again, do good work, tell great stories, right? So you did something and you can share your highs and lows. So if you're stuck one day, I was like, guys, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to create this report for a project management program. I'm really struggling here. And then hopefully 2 weeks later, you say, oh guys, I cracked it, right? So that's just one path. But again, there are so many paths out there. So you can do it in your own way. And of course, a lot of my members do. Some are active on social media, some are not. Some do like public speaking, some don't do that at all. But in some way and fashion, they all are following that rule of doing good work and telling great stories. So Uche, what do you feel about that? Like, does it feel scary, or do you feel hopeful and excited? Like, yeah, I could try that. Or, yeah, I can see that.
That does sound doable. It does sound
Oh,
doable. So
thank you. I'm glad.
I mean, my next question would be like, okay, if and somebody did mention about like perhaps going into or applying for a consulting company. And my question is, how would you craft that story if your past your experience is in different niches? How do you
Yeah.
craft that story
Yeah.
for the one that
That's
you
a
choose?
good point. Yeah. So hey folks, I just want to acknowledge some of the folks who have typed in their questions. I promise I'll get to each one. So yeah, so let's say your last experience with mining or something, and you want to switch to and shift to finance. So, so man, that's a great question. Love it, love it, love it. And because I can use Greg's story to showcase it. So, niching down. I had one question which I get often was like, oh, Javi, how do I like if I'm going to niche down, what if it doesn't work out, right? So niching down is not like getting married. It's not for better or worse. You are allowed to change your niche, although I meet some people and they're like changing their niche every month. That is not right. All they're doing is they're quitting. You know, I mean, they're like, oh, I tried this, didn't work. Oh, I tried this, right? So that's not what I'm talking about. I usually say once you focus on a niche, give it 6 months and see the results you get. And of course, in our program, I mean, these are people who are trying to become Power BI consultants. So really, their timeline is that can you get a paid client in 6 months? And most often they can, right? So so you have that. Give it 6 months, but in the long run, maybe in 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. It's possible at some point you need to change your niche. And you can do that. We do use a different word for that, just to clarify things. We call it pivoting, right? So you pivot from one thing to the next. So Greg did the same thing. He actually comes from aerospace background. He worked in an aerospace company. So so how do you approach that? You come from one background, aerospace. You walk in the coffee industry. You know how to talk about planes, and you can barely order a coffee at Starbucks, which is me, by the way. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I go to Starbucks and like freeze, like what? Can I get a small in that? And of course, they don't call it small. So how do you do that? Well, of course, it would help to do a little bit of homework, and you can often do that just research online. If you can meet somebody and talk to somebody in the industry, and the goal is what you're trying to do is you're trying to showcase the parallels. And again, the good news is that the data challenges are universal. They are universal. Every single company out there struggles with the same set of problems, sometimes in different settings. So I actually helped Greg with one of the presentations that he was making to a potential client. And it opens something like this. And oh wait, let's see if I remember. So he opened it and he said, so sometimes if you feel like you have a weakness or something, it's better to lean into it. I know, sounds crazy, but trust me, it is better, right? It's better to just put it out there rather than get defensive about it. Then you'll be explaining it and then they'll say, something is fishy, right? So it's better to lean into it. So imagine Greg starts off saying, hey guys, I have no experience in the coffee industry. I just haven't. I am an avid coffee drinker though. I mean, again, you can say that if it's true, right? So, but I have worked in the aerospace manufacturing industry. And let me show you what our world looked like. And then he put up a picture, which was a jumble of things, of systems and data coming from and so forth, right? And then he said, this was our first challenge. Our data was just all these places. Now we did have an, kind of an ERP system and that had a bulk of the data, but then there was also this, and then this wasn't covered, and that was coming from here, this was coming from here. And it was all put together by duct tape and Band-Aid. And that's how we were running. And it was not a fun life. That meant things could break down at odd hours when things were critical. And then everybody jumped into a fire drill. And it was exhausting for the whole team. Now I want you to take a pause, everybody, and see what you're feeling right now. I would bet that you're probably feeling something, because again, these problems are universal and everybody has dealt with them. So when you have them in that stage, and then you do the segue, the transition, and frankly, the best way to do that is to ask a question. So you say, well, so tell me about you guys. Like I'm a newcomer to your industry. I don't know about your industry, but tell me if you have struggled with that, if you have something like that. And they, at this point, they wouldn't stop talking. It's like, oh my God, yeah, I mean, believe me, right? I mean, we have this and we have, right? So yeah, all you have to do is that strike that chord. So so does that help, Uche, right? I mean, data problems are universal. You just lean into if you feel like that's kind of a weakness, you lean into it, you come out and say, yep, I don't have that. I haven't worked in that yet, but I have done this. And then you ask a question. That's far better than you suggesting it, right? Because if you ask a question and they lean into it, in their head, it's like, oh yeah, these two things are connected. So yes, does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, great. So folks, We'll see if you, I'm going to try to scroll through and find the questions, but you can also unmute yourself. Good. So Alex, if you can unmute yourself, and I don't know how to check if Alex is still on. But if you're still on, maybe unmute yourself. So Alex had asked, do you think it's important to work for a consulting company before starting one's own company? I do not believe so. Most of our members in the Power BI consulting program, they don't do that. You could, and that's okay. And that could be a good stepping stone, but that's not required. Yeah, I think that path is a little bit tricky because for one, it's just going to take you longer, right, to get that life of control. Again, what I've worked for a consulting company as well, and again, I mean, in the end, it was the same deal and annual reviews and HR and all that sort of stuff, and so yeah, it's not that different. It's right. So I wanted the steering wheel in my own hands. So it takes longer. And the other challenge, of course, is that it's possible that you may never leave. Because again, I mean, leaving a 9 to 5 job is hard enough. I mean, it feels safe. It feels comfort. It feels safe, which actually it isn't. So I always say, guys, people are trying to avoid change. Well, the riskiest thing right now is to stay still, right? Status quo, try to be in the status quo because the world is changing around us. So if the world changes and you don't, man, you're done, right? So yeah, so trying to stay in the same place doesn't help either. But anyway, so that leaving that comfort feels hard. You do that once, go to a consulting company, and then you may just never leave that. So you wouldn't be able to achieve the dream that I would want you to, right? And that's what I'm helping my members get to. So it's not required, but you can. Some members do.
Okay. Thanks, Avi.
Awesome, great. And Jackie had a comment. She's saying niching down doesn't block you from other opportunities. Oh, I love that one. Because when people know you're great, oh man, Jackie, can you be my sidekick? Can I have you co-present with me, and I'll cue you up. I'll talk about niche, and then you can come in and say this. So because so guys, let me say a little bit more about that. Jackie, thank you so much. So I'm going to read it again. Niching down doesn't block you from other opportunities because when people know you're great in one thing, they will want to find out what else you're great at. So this is how it actually works. So again, Uche was talking about how it's scary to niche down, but so again, Simon Sinek, huge fan, love that guy, go follow him. He talks about it where he was sitting down with a client and a potential client, and the negotiation was just dragging on too long. And in the end, he got so tired that he did something which he wouldn't have had the courage to do otherwise. He just told his client, look, you're asking for this. I can do this part. I'm good at this. This part, I'm a so-so. That part, I'm not good at that. You can find somebody and I can support them, but that's not me. And he got hired right away. Man, people love that authenticity, and that's so hard to come by. And frankly, imagine another scenario. This is how a lot of potential clients, when you're looking for a job, when you're looking for a potential client, people often act this way, right? So, the employer asks, "Oh, can you do this?" Hey, yeah, I can do that. Like, what about this? Oh, I can do that. Yeah. And again, right? I mean, you're feeling like a kind of chicken shit in your heart anyway. Like, oh shit, I hope they don't find out. I hope they don't follow up questions or whatever. But you say it because you feel like that's the right answer. Trust me, it isn't. So when you are truthful and candid, they get it. I mean, they're humans too. They've gone through that stuff too. They will appreciate that more. So I do really think that you land more clients, you'll be quicker to get that next job, right? If you don't. And again, what I say is that you don't have to pretend to be an expert. If you're new to Power BI, you don't have to pretend to be a Power BI expert. Please don't. It's not needed. But everybody can be a Power BI enthusiast. Go with that. And again, lean into it, as I was talking to Uche, right? So come in, they talk about Power BI and say, hey, so lean into it, right? So you say, I haven't had much real experience with Power BI yet, but so again, now you build that bridge, right? You say, I have been working on, kind of data challenges and analytics for a long time, just with different tools, just not with Power BI. And the little bit that I have seen with Power BI, I'm really super excited about the potential, right? Because I've seen that it can do this. And I can't wait to really put my data analytics skills that I already have and see what I can take my existing skills, which again, already have, and the business skills, and see what I can now, if I get the opportunity to kind of leverage Power BI to solve these problems, see how I'm really excited about that. So again, right, you don't have to be an expert, be a Power BI enthusiast, right? So again, being that way is going to help you. So instead of going in and saying, I know everything, I can do anything, you go, no, this is what I focus on. This is what I'm good at, right? That's what I'm about. That's the value that I can bring to the company or your client. You get specific, they trust you more. It's more likely you're going to get that. The other thing is even bigger. So Greg Berg, he told me, so actually how in his niche, it sounds a little watered down. Like he says coffee and manufacturing industry. Now, he wasn't doing that to begin with. He was just targeting coffee industry, but he kept getting inquiries from other manufacturing companies, which had nothing to do with coffee, because when you niche down, you become magnetic. Man, that message becomes powerful because again, you can become an expert in that small niche. And man, I mean, we can sense that, when somebody has that confidence and, hey, I know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, we all know that kind of people, and we've all been that in some setting. Man, you feel incredible, right? I mean, so if Greg is exuding that kind of power and strength and persona, then yeah, it becomes magnetic. So this is of course the from the book The Adventure of Tom Sawyer, where he was trying to paint a fence and then he just made it seem so awesome. So by excluding others, by saying I only help coffee industry, it was essentially excluding others. He became more magnetic to them. Now they wanted to work with him even more. Now they would approach him almost pleading. It's like, hey, Greg, we're not in the coffee industry, but do you mind looking at some of this? I know you can help us, right? So yeah, man. I mean, this stuff works in amazing ways. All right, cool. So hey, folks. I'm never gonna get tired of talking about this stuff. I've been talking for about close to an hour, but thanks to all of your questions. Thanks to Uche for sure. I love that conversation. Thanks to Jackie for being my sidekick. I might take you along wherever I go. And connect with me on LinkedIn. So generally, I only connect with members inside a Learn Power BI program. But if you send me a connection request, I don't know, that in the next day or so, and just put a note saying, hey, Avi, we had hung out together at the Atlanta user group, then I'll be nice and accept you. Of course I would, right? I enjoyed hanging out with you guys. So John, certainly I want to thank you for hosting us. And as I mentioned, my brother lives in Atlanta, so I'm hoping someday I get to hang out with you guys and eat the sponsored pizza.
There you go. We love to see you in person. That was great
Yeah.
advice. Great
Yeah.
advice. We really loved having you tonight.
All right.
So let me go ahead and share the last slide if I can, Matt. Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for September 13th. The topic is to be determined, and also the place is to be determined. So please, go on Meetup, and we will update that as soon as we have that information for you. So again, Avi, great job. Really, really good. You can't wait to see you in person. Come by, and till next time. See you, everybody, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, guys.